Ultimately, it turned out that Dr. Gupta did not go to Bombay at all. His other three members went, and then they produced a report in which they did say that it appears to be a case of suicide on the basis of evidence available. Dr. Gupta, without having gone himself, without having talked to the doctors as a fellow doctor, he on the basis of those three people's report, he backed it. The lack of fulfillment of certain minimum conditions like video and so on and so forth. But he concluded that it was suicide. Now, naturally, there was consternation. The CBI immediately said our investigations continue because CBI is not bound by an autopsy report. It is not an autopsy report. It's a review of the autopsy report or the post-mortem of the Dr. Cooper Hospital. And they did not have the benefit of the body because he was cremated the very next day, early next morning. Night they complete the examination, and the morning he is cremated. So there's no body for them to examine. So what they're doing is just whatever data is presented by these doctors to say. And I think the proper conclusion, according to me as a layman, but who has dealt with these kinds of cases in his public life, he should have said it's inconclusive. We are not able to conclude what it is. It could be suicide, it could be murder, etc., and left it to the CBI to go for circumstantial evidence. And CBI is getting a hell of a lot of circumstantial evidence.
And he shreds apart the report by pointing at the lapses and the erroneous judgment.
Late in the night, I mean around 9 o'clock or thereabouts, they took it by ambulance to Dr. Cooper's hospital, which is 11 kilometers away, whereas Lilavati hospital is just next door. But they didn't go there. They took it there, and they said, no, this is a government hospital. And they did the autopsy at, this is now recorded by Dr. Sudhir Gupta's committee in his report. They did it in the midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and in very poor lighting. That's also recorded, very poor lighting. And they didn't bother to do a video of that. And they concluded that he died of asphyxiation. But someone came along and said, don't say just asphyxiation, say also by hanging. So there were some big marks which were not explained. And all this happened. And then by then, whatever was in the stomach would have gone down the intestines. And there are a few things which were discovered which have not been explained. There was a lot of sperm on his pajamas. How did that come? Was some female there and he was having sex with her? What? Nothing investigated. And the report concluded, and there are about 11 violation of procedure. For instance, it's required in an autopsy to estimate the time of death, and they did not put that in at all, which is very extraordinary.
Dr. Gupta met Dr. Swamy face to face and was forced to answer Dr. Swamy's questions.
Dr. Gupta would have sent a copy to the ministries or the AIIMS medical board, and then also one copy to the health secretary. But Dr. Gupta, who was then directed by the health ministry secretary to come to a meeting with me at a place mutually decided, which was my house, and then answer my questions, because I had already sent the questions in advance in a letter. And he came, and I quizzed him. And he was firm on the question of suicide, but he was unable to answer why he did not, why he just was dismissive of all these irregularities in the conduct of the post-mortem.
And taking the fight further, Dr. Subramaniam Swamy has approached the centre with a demand on further course of action.
So I have written them another letter saying that this report now should be, and I've also spoken to this, to people in the department headed by my friend and colleague Jitendra Singh, who is the Minister of State, which supervises the CBI, not for its criminal investigations, but in terms of its pay and its facilitation funds and so on. And I've spoken to him also, saying that this matter should go now to the medical board of the All India Medical Institute. Meanwhile, the CBI, the Enforcement Directorate, and the Narcotics Bureau Board, they all must give, based on the circumstantial evidence or the evidence they have collected, their prima facie case so that a charge sheet can be filed.
With the fight now reaching the central government, are we closer to the Sushant investigation truth? Bureau Report, Republic TV.